Hello everyone, and yes, we were talking about this, and I think we mentioned it last week. We really wanted to give very specific examples of why you might feel like you want to come for Reiki, or what Reiki is about and how it can help. Mm-hmm. So we're both of us going to give just a few little specific examples which might resonate. So I was going to talk about a general one, which a lot of people come to me for, which is about a real lack of energy. And a lack of energy we can get on a daily basis. Some days we feel like we have more energy and suddenly we don't know why. We can feel lots of va-va-voom. And other days we just feel low. But just sometimes this lowness can go on for more days and become a bit of a habit. And then you can get a bit stuck, and you know that you feel like you could perform better, think clearer better. It's just you feel like your energy's been pulling down. And there might be certain medical reasons, there might be certain deficiencies, it might be iron, it might be lack of sleep, it might be stress, there might be lots of different things that are going on, but it might be that somebody doesn't really know why, they can't put their finger on it. So they come to me and they say, well, I do have this issue, but actually most of it, I just feel really like I'm lacking energy. I just don't feel myself. So if you feel like that kind of person, it's great to come to Reiki, because what we can do is have a little chat and see what's going on in your life, first of all. But then when you can lie down on the massage table, of course, sometimes people sit up if they don't feel comfortable lying down. And then what we'll do is we'll start to scan. There's something called bioscan, where we just scan with a hand lightly over the body, feel different energy points, and see if certain areas feel a bit more sluggish or a bit low. And then we can start the Reiki, focusing on the chakras that we've identified.
Yeah, just to add into that, I just remember when I started learning about Reiki, and when we did the scanning for the first time, it was just so amazing to actually feel it. Like, we hadn't had much practice, but you just tap into that intuitive side, and I think everyone has it, and you just feel where your hand just stops automatically. So yeah, I just remembered that when you mentioned the scanning.
You're totally right. It's intuitive, isn't it? It's just, I mean, sometimes people spend a long time just hovering, but really it's all about intuition, just hovering over, and just, it feels like a slight thickness or more density in those areas that are just a bit, the energy is just a little bit slower. Could be over here. And sometimes little impressions or ideas come up, or thoughts like, about sleep, or that's what somebody's feeling, and you can mention that. But really it gives us areas where we can, although Reiki's about self-healing, it can help us give areas where we want to be guided to. And
you were giving when I
exactly. And a lady came to me recently, and what she said at the end of the practice, she goes, that was really intense. She said, I still am aware that I still have the same things going on in my life, but I feel lighter. I feel like everything's been lifted. Like she said, I almost felt like I was lifting out of my body, and I felt lighter. And it was like the weight of everything I was feeling has been lifted from me. And now I feel like I can carry on and address things in a much lighter, more positive way. It isn't issues that are heavier. I feel like I can do my life much better and lighter. I feel changed. I feel different. So I think that's a lovely example. That was this week, actually.
Then any more examples that come to mind to you in terms of why someone came to you, or something specific that they had in mind?
Yes.
First,
physically, more physical symptoms, though I mean feeling lack of energy is a physical, but period pains, actually. Particular, if I'm going to give a particular example, a girl came because she was feeling really tired, a bit overwhelmed, but through our chat and through the bioscan, the scanning, I could feel instantly that there was something that wasn't quite right with her monthly cycles. And I said, how are your periods? And she said, well, actually they're very heavy, they floor me each month. I have a whole week where I feel like I can't do anything, it drains my energy. And so really in a Reiki like that, we'd go through the different chakras balancing, but I would concentrate on womb, ovaries, and just see what's going on and see if we can lighten them up. And sometimes it's just an imbalance. Sometimes what we're looking for is maybe it's there might be other more particular reasons why they're having heavy periods, which might be medical. So we might advise them to go to a practitioner just to get things checked out. But on this particular case, she just needed just rebalancing. It was as simple as that. Her yin and yang were out of balance. And actually, when she came to see me again, I think it was about 2 months later, actually, she said, my periods since then have been fine, and I've talked to her since, they've been fine since. So that was a great success. So yes, it is possible to do quite good miracles with
yeah, that's amazing.
just calming the body down, taking the heat out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And how about you? Have you got any examples that you
I mean, a few
like to share
that come to mind is again, like someone who came for a physical issue, which was IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome.
Yes.
Basically means that a lot of digestive issues, and it takes over again when, you know, it's almost like you have an attack of the IBS, and then you have a period of time when you can't do anything, and you know, of course it hampers your work timing, you can't go to work, and there's all sorts of things. So it starts affecting self-esteem, and you know, so she came with those kind of things, and just being like, I've tried so many things, I've tried different medicines and things, and I think that was another thing when we did the scanning, and then a few sessions in, that there were layers below that were also affecting her. So anxiety that would have started before the IBS started, related to things from the past, maybe that she felt like she hadn't resolved, you know. So it was definitely a mind and body connection, and then the body was trying to overcompensate by just like sort of locking up, especially in the digestive system. And I think that's what happened. I felt that she was able to connect to her body much more, just relax into it, understand what her body is telling her through the sessions. Plus, of course, when we discussed after each session what she felt with the flow of energies. Again, like you were saying, there was a bit of imbalance in that area, in the stomach area, because I think he was overcompensating by working so much there, and not really flowing everywhere else. And I found that after second or third session, there was much more flow, and she was also feeling calmer, because she was so anxious then about getting the IBS that it becomes a cycle, and it was good.
It does, yes.
And so,
and actually afterwards, after the Reiki, say like with the IBS, you can often have a chat afterwards about other techniques that can help, like mindfulness, like breathing techniques. Because often it can really help to calm it, and sometimes even clear it. But if it's a worry and anxiety, it's about different methods to try. And often self-help, you know, Reiki, I know people learn Reiki, but often, as you said earlier on today, the energy's in with all of us. There's certain techniques we can help, like going to bed at night and putting your hands on your stomach and sending your own self energy as well. So it's that post talk as well. It's like a holistic, isn't it? But yeah, IBS is one that quite a few people come for.
And another one, I think, that a few people have come to is like a generalized anxiety, which means that, you know, they might be feeling anxious about one specific thing, but then they also sometimes, like they can't pinpoint what it is that's causing a kind of general anxiety. And I also felt that it was the same thing, that once they could relax into their bodies, because I find that with anxiety, you sometimes get out of your body, or you kind of look outwards at what's happening. And just that act of lying down, relaxing, or sitting, like you're saying, and letting that flow of energy happen. I think there's a kind of understanding that your body is there for you, whereas sometimes you get out of that and feel like your body is the enemy itself, you know. That makes sense. But
not just, it's, as you said, it's that real mindful hour, or half an hour or hour, where they can really stop, because often we can't do that, or allow ourselves to have that time to do that. We always fill it with something. It's relaxing in front of a film, or it's relaxing by reading a book, or having a walk, just to literally be lying down. And it's not sleep, it's not awake, it's almost like a hypnosis kind of state. Maybe hypnosis is wrong, because it's not we're doing anything. They just allow themselves to go into this really relaxed state, where that's where the healing is. And
no, and I was saying that exactly that sometimes it takes time. It's almost like it takes time to be with yourself for such a long time, so you can do it for shorter times at home, like, you know, sometimes it just lying down can feel
Yeah.
quite anxious making, because your mind can take
Yes.
over. So it's almost like you start with like short bits. Like they say, even
Yeah.
with meditation, you can start with 5 minutes a day and then keep increasing it.
Yes,
So it's
yes, and it's
almost like
not
a
just about
muscle.
emptying the mind, is it? It's about having that time just to be, literally it's to be. And there was something else you mentioned. You know, sometimes it's all a holistic. Reiki is about the holistic nature of doing the Reiki. Also, maybe talking, maybe advising. I mean, some Reiki practitioners literally they just channel, they don't talk. But I think it's really important to kind of find out the whole story beforehand and be able to share afterwards and see if there's other bits that they can do to help people can do to help themselves as well, or that other people might be able to help them. So sometimes I think there are quite miracles, like with the periods. It just kind of, she hasn't had problems since, and I think that was a deep relaxation. And other times it can be alleviating. There was a young woman I see who had Lyme's disease, and she went through immense pain a lot of the time, terrible headaches, and it wasn't about trying to fix the Lyme's, I mean, which obviously would have been lovely, but what it did do over a series of sessions, it helped her mentally to be able to really feel positive, not positive, but really more positive and light again, that there was hope. I think when you're in perpetual pain, it's easy to give up hope, but what the Reiki did was that she began to feel in her own self, she understood herself more, she could find her voice, she could understand, and she just felt more positive. And with that positivity, she was able to continue, and now she's done amazing things. She's still going through the lives, but it's a lot lighter. But what the physical aspect it did, it helped to alleviate pain in her legs.
Wow.
So for a while, she'd have a lot less pain in her legs. So it wouldn't do the whole lot, but we could alleviate with pains in heads or pains in legs. We could identify where there was more issues with the stomach, and she could address those issues, knock-on effects with the immunity. What it mostly gave was a real strength back to her again to be able to cope. And it made it quite profound. So that's a case of miracles and ongoing treatment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can see, I think even for oneself, when you're doing Reiki for others, and then you find that little things that you do. Like for me, when you said legs, I remembered my knees and how I sometimes get these knee pains, and I always know that then is something that I'm holding back from. I don't want to, I know it sounds quite obvious, but it's almost like you don't want to step into something new, or you're scared and you're holding back. And I always see the connection only afterwards, because when you're feeling the knee pain, I'm like, I shouldn't be feeling knee pain at this age, all that kind of thing. But then suddenly you're like, you're listening to that part of your body and saying, okay, what is it? And then you give a little bit of Reiki, let that energy flow. And sure enough, I've seen that helps for that to go down.
Yes.
So just little things like that.
It's like you're saying, it's learning to listen again, and it's listening to your body, listening to energies, learning to connect, listen to when your body is overdoing it. Usually the body tells us we're overdoing it by giving us some kind of illness, whether it's exacerbating, like doing too much with our breathing, or whether we get pains in our stomach. It's our body's going, you've got to stop, you're not listening to me, you've got to slow down. And actually another example of why people come to us might not even be for energy or physical symptoms. It might be because they're interested in Reiki, and that's a really interesting. That's such a separate section in a way, because people come for, well, I've got these low energy, or I'm struggling at work. I've got my boss. I feel like I haven't got a voice, or I'm having trouble giving up smoking or drugs, or I've got a very particular illness, or I feel low. But sometimes people going, actually, I've heard of Reiki. I know I've got this journey. I don't know what it is, but I just want to find out what it is. And actually, that's just as important. It's just as important, because they come and they will lie down, and then they'll get it. They'll understand, and they'll and it actually, health-wise, it really helps to connect to energy, because you do learn to listen to your body. You can see that whole holistic connection between mind, body, physical, mental, and spiritual, and you can really start to self-heal. And there are some times afterwards I say, well, how did you feel? What did you notice? And say, have you ever considered maybe learning Reiki Level 1? Because Reiki Level 1 is about self-healing, or helping to heal friends and family. It's not as a practitioner. And sometimes it's good for like I have a friend who now learned Level 1 because she helps to use Reiki on her son, because it's very good on children as well, as you know. And it really helps her to feel back in control, where she can give him some Reiki and he really enjoys it. And it just helps him to feel calm. You know, or it might be that another person, like you know, maybe their partner or their aged grandparents, is very, or themselves, and of course you and I do Reiki on ourselves. So that's another reason why people come for Reiki, for learning how to self-heal.
A lot of people have heard of it and they know theoretically maybe a little bit by hearing about things, but then, like, once they've gone through a Reiki treatment themselves and understood a little bit more, then they feel more drawn to, yes, it's possible for anyone to learn, and that we all have those self-healing abilities. It's not like you have to be some special person to learn this, you know, it's like anyone. Yeah, exactly. And that's really empowering when people understand that this is something that they can pick up and, like you said, help people they're close to, help themselves, along with other things that they're doing, of course. But, you know.
Yes. And yes, exactly. And there was something else, I think probably just one more I just wanted to mention, especially post-corona virus and the lockdown, is to have a particular mention for people with mental health, which I know is something we've both been interested in. And often people can come with anxiety or they feel low, and it's also for us to identify, you know, if we can help them. And obviously it always does help, even if somebody's feels in a bit of a bad way, the Reiki helps in conjunction obviously with any other treatment that they're receiving. And it's about directing people to the right places if they need additional help. But I think one thing we were talking about, really wanted to mention that in coronavirus, it really can affect people that have mental health, because they might feel more isolated. And actually Reiki is a really important and valuable tool, but there are other energy tools that we can use, and one of them is just make sure that we phone people and make sure that we, if you know somebody with mental health, whether in family or friend, just a phone call just to say, hi, I'm here, I'm around. It's just, and even if they can't talk, they just know that you're there somewhere. That's really important too. And that's an aspect of energy, because we talk about energy as well as Reiki, don't we?
And like you said, it doesn't have to be about talking too much. It could just be a little walk with someone, I mean, now distanced, or just a call, or something. You're right.
Just to say we're here, because a lot of people will go, I'm fine, but and it's just saying, I'm just checking, just checking. That's a good one as well. So it needn't be the whole treatment. It can be just like I'm sending my energy to you, I'm letting you know I care, I'm thinking of you, and that's energy as well. So
I like that. And just to end with saying a few things about what we are planning to do soon, and if anyone wants to come to us for Reiki treatments and things, you were saying that now things are opening up slowly. We were talking
slowly, yes. The UK Reiki Federation and the Complementary Natural Healthcare Council have been given guidelines. We've probably been the last practitioners to be allowed to work, but I think we're probably quite needed at the moment. People want to find out and make sense of what's been going on. So check with your local places that or practitioners, but I think it's really like still distance or today I did my first Reiki at home, but I have big bifold doors, so we could put the massage table in next to the garden,
and you've got a lovely
so at the end of the kitchen into the garden. And I kept away, but I did wear a mask when I was nearby, but it was still mostly distance, but it can still have real profound effects.
And
and the lodge space where I'm working, I'm not going back till September, but I know they've started certain treatments like massage treatments, and I think some energy work as well. But I think we were planning on doing, we were actually going to do a Reiki workshop, weren't we? I think it was sometime in June, where we were going to, and so I think that's still planned. Hoping we're still planning on doing that in September, aren't we?
Yes, looking forward to that.
And, where people can come together and we can share, maybe practicing Reiki on each other, meditation, music, because you do shares as well, don't you?
And sharing energies and maybe just chakra balancing. So it's just like you said, it's a group of people coming together to share energies in different ways, and that would be nice. So if anyone's interested in joining in London, South London,
Yeah.
and then I'm sure we'll have quite a few more as time goes. And we're also planning
we'll let you know near the time, can't
online
we?
Zoom things in the future as well, which we can keep,
Yeah.
sharing with people as time goes.
It's just so healthy, and Reiki is for everyone really to share. And even if you haven't done Reiki, everyone, it's still important to calm and have that time out. I say we can do chakra meditations and just share and just show how to increase energies and just have some real healing time out, which will be everybody always after the shares comes away feeling quite invigorated, actually peaceful and invigorated at the same time. So yes, we'll work out which day and
share that. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
So yeah, me too, finally.
Yeah, thank you, and let's catch up again in a week or so for another chat.
Yes, we've got a few holidays coming up where possible, but it's always lovely having our little chats and the beauty of
so maybe
the connect with each other and everyone.
Yeah, thank you everyone, and hope
thank you very much, and blessings to you this week, and health and peace.